Here are my predictions for UFC 310. I just want to start off by addressing the fact that the main event kind of fell apart. Unfortunately, Bilal Muhammad got injured. I believe he had like a bone infection in his toe. So I wish him a speedy recovery. And, hopefully we'll see him very soon fight for his belt or defend his belt, rather. Um, But we got an amazing event still. The card was so good that all you had to do was upgrade the co-main to the main, and it's still really good. So, starting off with the prelims. Michael Chiesa versus Max Griffin. Michael Chiesa is, no disrespect, he's kind of one note, and I think that, his way of winning would be by submission. And I know that Max Griffin is kind of aggressive with his striking, and I don't think that Chiesa is going to withstand that. Maybe he can get a takedown and suppress, the striking of Max Griffin. But I got Max Griffin by KO in round 1 or 2. Um, Time is just going to keep ticking, and it's not on Chiesa's side. So I got Max Griffin by KO or TKO, round 1 or 2. Clay Guida versus Chase Hooper. I want to start off by congratulating Chase Hooper on becoming a dad. I like Chase. He. I thought that Chase Hooper wouldn't go too far after the first couple fights I saw of him, like in the UFC. I'm like, I know he's young, but I don't know if he's gonna shoot up the rankings. Like, it just didn't seem like that. Then I can't remember this guy's name, but we know the fight where he won in the first, or yeah, I think it was the first round. Crazy, and he had like a bubble on the guy's head. Crazy. He improved massively. And I got him winning over Clay Guida by submission in round 1 or 2. I think Clay Guida is, he's obviously a legend. And I think that he's going to come out swinging, and he's going to be very aggressive. But I think Chase Hooper, if he doesn't get caught, if he can avoid those hooks, he can get Clay Guida down and do some crazy ground and pound like he did in his last fight. Or just, I think, here's how I see it. I see him getting Clay Guida down, and then I see him, doing his ground and pound work, and that leads into like an opening for like a rear naked choke. So yeah, round 1 or 2, submission for Chase Hooper. Looking forward to that fight. I'm looking forward to any Chase Hooper fight from now on. Okay, Cody Durden versus Joshua Van. From what I've seen of Cody Durden, it doesn't make me think that he just annihilates Joshua Van. And I know that Joshua Van takes a round to like get going. I got Joshua Van by KO in round 2 or 3. I think that Joshua Van he's consistently having this feeling out process in round 1. He usually lets that one go. And then round 2, he just turns up the heat and he goes after his opponents. So I think he can get that KO. And I'm looking forward to seeing it. Joshua Van is one of the most exciting fighters in the UFC, but especially at flyweight. Okay, Taliesin Teixeira versus Lucas Bresky. I don't know anything about either of these guys. I'm not gonna hide or pretend that I do know anything about them. But I know that Taliesin is undefeated. So if I had to pick this fight, I would lean towards the undefeated guy, maintaining that. Randy Brown versus Brian Battle. Randy Brown is really good at his straight punches, which I'm a huge fan of straight punches. They're accurate, they're hard to avoid, and they're fast. But Bryan Battle is one of my favorite fighters, period. Um, I'm not going to pick against Bryan Battle. It's just not happening. Um, I love Bryan Battle's tenacity, his cardio, his endurance, his willingness to like keep the pressure going. Um, and I know Randy Brown is super dangerous and he's sharp as a striker, but I think that he might wilt to some pressure because Bryan Battle's not gonna like. He's not gonna let you feel comfortable. He's not gonna let you, get into your flow state, if you will. He's not gonna let you find peace in the octagon. He's gonna be in your face. He's gonna make it a battle. If I could make that pun. Anyway, Bryan Battle by KO in round 2 or 3, just through pressure and cardio and wearing him down, wearing Randy Brown down. I see him pushing Brown into the fence and just catching him, and not everything would connect. Like I could see a flurry of punches being thrown, but it only takes like a couple to like crumple somebody with Bryan Battle's power. He's really good. He's really good, and if he continues to improve, dude, he's gonna skyrocket. So Bryan Battle for sure. KO, round 2 or 3, just pressure and cardio. Yeah, I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan, and he killed it on the mic after his last fight in Paris. Yeah, big things are in store for him if he keeps going. So I'm excited for that fight. Moving on, Anthony Smith versus Dominic Reyes. Well, I think Dominic Reyes gets this done in round 2 by KO. Maybe round 1, but I don't see him coming out as aggressive. I think he'll be a little cautious because Anthony Smith, even though people love to downplay him and talk smack about Anthony Smith, he can be a little sneaky. Like especially his ground game, he can be sneaky. So you want to be careful of avoiding his takedowns. He's really good on the ground with his ground and pound and his submissions. But I think Dominic Reyes is faster, and I think Dominic Reyes has better striking. So it's either a round 1 or 2 knockout for Dominic Reyes, provided that he stays sharp and is mindful of striking and his takedown defense. I think Dominic Reyes can do it. I think he's too fast. Moving on, Movsar Evloev versus Aljamain Sterling. I think that Aljamain has the experience to win. I think he's good enough to make a boring fight and win a decision. But I think Movsar is really good. Not really good in like he's a killer. Really good in that he can grapple well. Because the guy doesn't have a finish. He's undefeated. He doesn't have a finish in the UFC. I'm not excited about this fight, really. But I want Movsar to win. Yeah. I don't like how Aljamain won his belt. It is what it is. He beat Peter Yan in the rematch, though, I believe. Doesn't matter. What matters is this fight, and I think Evloev beats him. I want Evloev to get a finish. I want him to submit. I don't see that happening. I want him to TKO Aljamain. Yeah, TKO him. Hopefully, I don't see that happening. If I was a betting man, which I'm not, but if I was, I'd say Movsar Evloev by decision. Yeah, and it might be 29-28. I think, I don't see this being a pure domination, although I would love it if it was. we'll see. We'll see. And this would be Movsar going against like champion level, you know, a champion level opponent, which is, you know, good for him to have that experience. I think that if Movsar and Diego Lopez had that rematch, Diego starches him. He just knocks him out. That was a really close fight, and Diego was on short notice when they fought, and I believe that was Diego Lopez's debut in the UFC. And since then, he's been on a tear. There's a lot of danger in the top 5, top 10 of featherweight, of the featherweight division. So yeah, Movsar by decision. Moving on to the main card. Nate the Train Landwehr versus Doo Ho Choi. I know Choi can like really get into a scrap and like make a fight super fun. And we all know that Nate Landwehr is one of the funnest fighters in the UFC. I think that Nate the Train can win this. He either knocks him out in round 1 or 2. If they both kind of mutually agree that we're gonna stand and bang and go crazy in the first round, I think Nate can catch him. And you know, he just has power. I like him a lot. I'm a fan of Nate the Train for sure. Yeah, I hope he wins. I want him to for sure. Knockout, 1 or 2, round 1 or 2. Moving on, Bryce Mitchell versus Kron Gracie. First off, before I even talk about this fight and how it goes, or how I see it going, Kron Gracie does not belong on the main card. Every fight I've seen him in, it's horrible. He has no stand-up. He's constantly jumping on his back and laying down and hoping somebody is going to come into his guard. I hope that gets moved. I'm posting this kind of, you know, early. It's in November. It's not even Thanksgiving yet, so there should be some movement of the card. Some of these fights might even fall out. You know, opponents might change. But that can't be on the main card. I think Movsar Evloev versus Aljamain Sterling should replace this as far as, you know, in card order. This is not something people should be paying for as far as pay-per-view. I think Bryce Mitchell TKO's Kron Gracie. The reason I'm not picking submission is because that's like, you know, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is like Kron Gracie's bread and butter. You know what I mean? If he can choke him out, if Bryce Mitchell can choke out Kron Gracie, good for him. You know what I mean? Like, you know, that's like beating somebody where they're good. That's always going to be, you know, a little impressive. But Kron Gracie has like bad cardio and no striking. I see Bryce Mitchell like getting on top and just, you know, elbows and, you know, punches, ground and pound. What round though? I think, yeah, round 1 maybe. Round 1 maybe. And if Bryce Mitchell can manage to knock him out on the feet, then that would show. No, it's not. That's not going to happen because Kron Gracie will fall on his back before that happens, before he gets completely knocked unconscious. So Bryce Mitchell by TKO, round 1. Yeah. Moving on. Cyril Gane versus Alexander Volkov. Cyril is faster than Volkov, and Volkov has good cardio. But I think that the speed and power of Cyril is going to carry him in this fight. I think that it's tough because Volkov beat Pavlovich, But Cyril isn't. Cyril knows how to pace himself. He's not like a wild swinger. Nobody looks at Cyril Gahn like he's a monster and he's gonna, like comparing Pavlovich and Cyril Gahn. It's like nobody thinks of Cyril as this guy where it's if you stand in front of him for too long, you're gone. You're done. I don't think that Volkov is going to, you know. I see a decision. I see a decision, and I think that Gahn is going to win either by TKO in round 3 or a decision. I don't see this happening quickly, like a round 1 or 2. They're both very picky kickboxers, you know what I mean? Here's something I'm not factoring in, though. Volkov submitted Tai Tuivasa with the what was it, Ezekiel choke? I can't remember. It was like he put his forearm on Tai Tuivasa's neck and like just was leaning on top of him. It was like it wasn't like a triangle, an arm triangle. He was directly on top of him. I think if Volkov leans into his grappling and his jiu-jitsu for this one, he might win it, because we know that Cyril Gahn is just super bad on the ground. He got exposed against John Jones. Am I saying that John Jones is bad at grappling? No, I'm saying I acknowledge that John Jones is amazing at grappling, for sure. But Cyril's takedown defense and his grappling defense is poor. And I think that if Volkov decides that his game plan is going to be grappling, I don't know. I don't know if I want to switch my pick from Cyril to Volkov. This is closer than I thought it would be, because I thought it was going to be, I don't know. I don't want to spend too much time on this fight. Wow. Maybe Volkov submission. Round 3, maybe. It depends on how he fights. If he doesn't grapple, then Cyril's gonna win by TKO in second or third round or decision. And then, but if Volkov is like attacking, with his grappling, he might win a submission. It's tough to pick. I don't know. Cyril is fast, though. I think I'm going to give it to Cyril. Not that I want him to win. I don't like that Cyril was ducking Tom Aspinall. Everybody's ducking Tom Aspinall except for Curtis Blades. Credit to Curtis Blades. He's not scared of anybody. That's a real martial artist. He steps in. Somebody wants smoke, he's there. So credit to Curtis Blades for not being a coward. Cyril Gahn avoided Tom Aspinall until he got the interim belt. Now he's talking about he wants to fight him. Okay, dude. He only wants to fight for belts. I don't like that. I don't like this diva energy from fighters. I want Volkov to win, but I think Cyril might win. So that's my take on that fight. Moving on, because I spent way too much time on that fight. Shavkat Rakhmonov versus Ian Garry. So because Belal Muhammad, had to pull out of his first title defense, Shavkat is fighting Ian Garry. Both of these guys are undefeated. Shavkat wins all of his fights by finish, which is spectacular. Who else is doing that? Nobody. And then you got Ian Garry. I'm not gonna call him by his other name. I don't know. Ian Garry, as much as I don't like him and the way he fights like somebody who understands what he needs to do to win. He always does what he has to get the victory. His fights are boring sometimes. Like he said he was gonna stand and bang with Michael Venom Page. What does he do? He grapples the whole fight. He tries to take him down. Every time he got an exchange with MVP was faster and sharper. He wanted none of that. So, but here's the funny part of that. It doesn't matter what you want to do against Shavkat because he's good everywhere. He has good striking. Shavkat isn't the fastest or the strongest with his striking, but he's good everywhere. And he's good in a Brian Battle sense where it's like his cardio is going to carry him. You know what I mean? Like that Jeff Neal fight that Shavkat had, like it was back and forth, but he won. How? By like standing rear naked choke in the third round, like before the timer or before the time was up. So here's how I see it going. I got Shavkat by TKO or submission in round 4 or 5. I think that you give Shavkat more rounds. If he doesn't get this done in round 3, he gets it done in round 4 or 5. That's what I think. I think Shavkat, given more time, you know, he's going to find that finish. Again, he's not the fastest or the strongest guy, but his pressure and his cardio, he finds a way. He always has. And I think he will this time. There's no game plan that I see Ian Garry approaching this fight with where he beats Shavkat. What are you going to do? Pick at him at range, you know, with striking? I think he's going to cut him off. He's going to cut off the cage and, you know, keep him on the fence. You're going to grapple with Shavkat Rakhmonov. He's better at grappling. He's going to submit you or do some ground and pound, get a TKO. Super dangerous fight for Ian Garry. It is possible that he could figure out a way to win. I just trust Shavkat more. He's consistently getting finishes. Yeah. And his fight with Jeff Neal, you know, if we're doing a direct comparison of like fights with Jeff Neal, Shavkat finished him and Ian Garry didn't, right? No, he didn't, I don't believe. Anyway, Shavkat round 4 or 5, TKO or submission, whatever he wants, but a finish. That's what I expect. Now, the main event, Alexandre Pantoja versus Kai Asakura. Some people are mad about this being a main event because they don't like the flyweight division for whatever reason. I love the flyweight division. It's one of the most exciting divisions. These guys are super fast. They're skilled, always entertaining for the most part. I can't remember the last time I saw a boring flyweight fight. I feel like Steve Erceg beat Pantoja last time. So, whatever. I don't have anything against Pantoja, except I feel like he keeps getting handed decisions. Kai Asakura. Now, I watch Rizin, and I watched his fights, some of his fights. This guy is lethal. His striking is really good. Specifically, his body, his knees to the body. That's what I want to talk about. His knees to the body. He catches people up close with those knees. And when you're fighting a grappler, anytime somebody has really good knees and he times them well, I think he knocks out Pantoja. I think this fight is super underrated. People are sleeping on both of these guys, especially Kai Asakura, because he's not, you know, he's not a UFC fighter until, you know, he steps in the octagon. He's been fighting in Rizin, and people might say, oh, you don't have the best competition over there. So what, dude? Like, when I heard that he was coming to the UFC, I was super happy, and I was hoping that he would get a fight against Pantoja because he abandoned his belt. He was the champion in Rizin at bantamweight. Now he's moving down to flyweight. And people say he can't make the weight. He can make the weight. I believe the UFC and their nutritionists, you know, probably, you know, they're gonna help him get down to 125 safely. I think he can make the weight. He was the champion in Rizin at bantamweight. He left his belt to come compete in the UFC. I think this is the closest Japan is going to come. I think this is the closest Japan has come to getting a real like champion, this fight. And I think he can do it. I really do believe he can. I think his striking is better than Pantoja. I think what's really going to be interesting is the ground battle. I want to see if he can withstand Pantoja on the ground. But my prediction for this fight is Kai Asakura by TKO in rounds 3, 4, or 5. He could hurt Pantoja in the first 2 rounds. I'm not saying he can't. I see Asakura just, finding that moment later in the fight. And again, knees to the body or the head. I think it's going to be a knee. I would put money on that, but I'm not a betting man. So this is an excellent main event. I'm so happy that he's fighting the champion in his debut, and he's getting the main event. Of course, it's because Belal pulled out and the co-main got upgraded, but it does not matter. The fact that he's debuting in the UFC, fighting the champion, and it's the main event is crazy. Has that ever happened before? I don't think that's ever happened before for a fighter in their debut to like get a title shot and it's the main event. And people are underestimating him already because they underestimate Rizin. I love Rizin. What I am concerned about is I hope that he remembers that the rules are different. You can't soccer kick somebody. Like if he gets up and Pantoja's still on the ground and he just kicks his head or something, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want him to get disqualified. That would suck so bad. But no. Knees are the key. I'm telling you. I think he gets that KO with a knee, either to the body or to the chin. This is going to be a great fight. Hopefully. Anyway, those are my thoughts on UFC 310, my predictions. This card is great. There's some really good fights from, the prelims all the way through the main card. I would have loved to have seen Shavkat get his title shot against Belal. I was expecting that fight to be awesome. Unfortunately, Belal, pulled out with the injury. But we still have a great card. Kai Asakura is one of the most entertaining fighters I've ever seen. He's explosive, he's fast. His shot placement, his choices and his strikes, he's very smart. When he has somebody in a corner, or for the UFC it would be against the cage, when he has them on the cage or on the wall, he can catch you with that knee to the body. I hope people watch his fights and watch his finishes. I've seen so many compilation videos of his finishes. A lot of them were soccer kicks to the head when guys are on the ground, but that's the rules over there in Rizin. I wish the UFC had those rules. Unfortunately, we don't yet. Maybe down the line we will. We got that 12-6 changed because it's elbows are elbows. I don't know why 12-6 was ever illegal. But yeah, hopefully Kai Asakura gets it done. I'm loving this main card. Minus Kron Gracie and Bryce Mitchell. Yeah, this is gonna be good. Like the video, comment your thoughts, and I will be posting more. Yeah, these are my thoughts, my predictions. I'm out.